Not All Fabrics Are Forever by Elizabeth England. What fabrics are most environmentally friendly? For my experiment, I want to test how long it takes different fabrics to biodegrade. I love fashion, however, there's so much waste that comes from the fashion industry. I wanted to find out which fabrics are best for the environment by seeing how long it takes for some of the most popular fabrics to decompose. This experiment will give more information about what fabrics are more environmentally friendly once someone is done with them and decides to dispose of them. Through my research, I found that natural fabrics decompose the fastest. Silk, linen, and cotton are all natural fabrics, meaning they will decompose fast and are the best fabrics to use for this experiment. To complete this experiment, I used multiple different pieces of fabric, cotton, silk, and linen, and I tested how long it took each fabric to break down when left in water and dirt in front of a windowsill. The fabric that eroded the most over 7 weeks told me the order of which fabrics are better and which are worse for the environment when being disposed of. To do the experiment, I put a 1-inch layer of dirt at the bottom of 3 separate 8-ounce plastic containers and put 4 ounces of water into each container. I then cut each type of fabric into 2x2 squares. I placed a piece of fabric in each container and then placed the 3 containers on the same windowsill. I observed the fabric every 7 days. After recording, I added another 4 ounces of water to each container. I took progress photos each week as well as measured the fabric swatches to see the degradation. My hypothesis was that I believe if silk, brush cotton, and linen are all exposed to natural elements such as dirt, water, and natural sunlight, that linen will degrade at a faster rate than brush cotton, and silk will hold up the longest against exposure to natural elements. Therefore, it is my conclusion that linen is the most environmentally friendly of all 3 fabrics. So was my hypothesis correct? Here's my start day data after cutting each fabric piece into 2x2-inch squares. For my week 1 data, I found that the linen and silk both frayed slightly around the edges but had nearly no other changes, and the cotton had no changes at all. For week 2, I found that the linen's weaving seemed to become looser, and that the silk and brush cotton had slight new fraying around the edges, but no other changes. For week 3, I saw no change in the linen, slight new fraying for the silk, and some discoloration in the middle of the brushed cotton fabric. In week 4, I saw no changes in the linen and slight new fraying in the silk. However, I did see major discoloration in the brushed cotton. The original purple fabric is now yellow in areas. Week 5, I saw no new changes in the linen, new fraying on both sides of the silk, and more discoloration in the brushed cotton, as well as tears on 2 sides of the fabric and in the middle. Week 6, I saw slight new fraying around the edges of both the linen and the silk, otherwise no new changes. There's more discoloration in the brushed cotton, and the tears in the fabric have grown. There are also new tears along the sides. Week 7, I noticed that the weaving on the edge of the linen has gotten looser, that the silk has continued to fray on 2 of the sides, and the original purple color of the brushed cotton is nearly gone. The tears have continued to grow more, and there is even more tears along the sides. This is also the first week that I've noticed any measurement changes. The brushed cotton now measures to 1.9 inches by 1.8 inches. 7 weeks of my fabric swatches being exposed to the sun, dirt, and water, I found that the brushed cotton is the material that degraded the quickest. When comparing this to my hypothesis, where I assumed that the linen would degrade the quickest, you can see that my data proved my hypothesis to be incorrect. At the end of the 7th week, there were multiple holes in the brushed cotton fabric swatch, whereas the linen and silk still had little to no change. The brushed cotton also had extreme discoloration. The only noticeable difference for the linen was the fabric seemed to loosen, and the silk frayed around the edges. This means that the brushed cotton was no doubt the quickest to degrade. There were a few errors throughout my experiment that affected my data's precision and accuracy. The first error was not buying the fabrics in the same color. The linen was navy blue, the silk was yellow, and the brushed cotton was a light purple. Having different colors and shades made the fabric hard to see some of the changes that were made. The dark fabric also held the light different from the lighter colors. Another error was cutting the fabrics. When I cut the fabrics into 2x2-inch squares, some pieces became more frayed around the edges than others. This means that when you compare the results at the end, the majority of the fraying that you can see in the silk and linen were there when the fabric were cut, so this affects how the end product looks. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.